Hi Year 6 and welcome back to our second lesson in outdoor learning this term on adaptations. I'm just going to share my screen so that we can get started. Excellent. So just a very quick recap from last week. I would like you to either think in your head, if you've got a piece of paper, jot it down, or if you are learning with someone else in the room with you, you can have a quick chat. What do we mean by adaptation? I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Well done, Year 6. So last lesson, we looked at adaptation as the special features that animals or plants have developed which enable them to survive in their habitat. Okay, so adaptation, when animals can adapt to their habitat, occurs through a process called natural selection. Okay, natural selection. Think about those two words, and I'd like you to think, what does this mean, natural selection? You may have heard that term before, or it may be completely new. If it's completely new, just think about those two words individually and what they might mean. Again, I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to have a think, jot it down, or talk to someone if there is someone in the room with you. Well done, Year 6. So natural selection, so this is the process by which organisms that are the most adapted to their natural environment will survive and pass down their characteristics to their offspring. Okay, and I've got just a picture of a peacock here, and essentially the peacocks with the brightest display of feathers, they're the ones that reproduce and are able to breed, okay, and therefore they pass down their really bright and beautiful display of feathers, and therefore that is an adaptation that they have used. I'm going to give another example here, which is the Galapagos finches. Okay, so these finches live in the Galapagos. So the Galapagos finch parents reproduce and create offspring. Okay, so each offspring is slightly different and unique. Okay, so you might see that there's some with slightly lighter feathers, some with slightly darker feathers. There's those with slightly different eye sizes and different beak sizes. Okay, I'd like you to have a little think before we move on. How some of these things could be advantageous. So, for example, how could having darker or lighter feathers, if you are a finch, be advantageous? How could having smaller or larger eyes be advantageous? Okay, be an advantage in their habitat. And again, a beak. How could a larger or smaller beak be an advantage in their habitat? I'm going to give you 20 seconds just to have a little think about that. Well done if you came up with some ideas. So what actually happened was When bad weather hit the Galapagos Islands and affected plant growth, there were fewer seeds to eat. So that meant that the offspring, so the finch chicks, had to eat larger seeds than they would normally eat, and that would normally be part of their diet in order to survive. So out of the two kind of chicks on the screen, you've got the one with the small beak and the one with the larger beak. Which one do you think was more likely to survive if they had to eat larger seeds than they would normally? Well done. So only the offspring with the large beaks could break open and eat these larger seeds. Therefore, those were the chicks that survived, and the other ones with the smaller beaks that couldn't break open these other seeds, they died. And so what happens next? So the Galapagos finches with the large beaks, they then reproduce with other finches with large beaks because they're the ones that survived that year because they could only eat those larger seeds. So all the ones with the smaller beaks, they didn't survive, they didn't reproduce, okay? And then because it was two finches reproducing and they both had large beaks, their offspring, okay, so their babies, inherited those large beaks. And so the Galapagos finch started to evolve to have these larger beaks. All right, and this is an example of how animals and plants adapt to their changing environment. And this process of adaptation is called natural selection. Okay, so over time, the Galapagos finches have started to evolve to have these larger beaks. And this adaptation occurred due to changes in their natural environment. So remember, the reason this happened was that there was bad weather and those finches had to eat larger seeds as opposed to their normal diet of small seeds. And therefore, the only finches that survived that year were the ones with the larger beaks. They then passed down that large beak trait to their chicks. And so their chicks then had large beaks. And this is how a population evolves. So the new word today is evolution, which again, you might have heard about, but this is the gradual change in the genetics or characteristics that happen over time. And this happens in a population of animals or plants. So this example of the finches is an example of an animal, how it starts to evolve because of the changes in its natural environment. So I've got 3 animals on the screen here, and these are all animals that have adapted to very extreme environments. We've got the thorny devil, the woolly bear caterpillar, and the Arctic fox. So as you can see, the thorny devil lives in a very hot place, lives in Australia. Both the Arctic fox and the woolly bear caterpillar live in extremely cold places. So we've got extremely hot and extremely cold places. Just very, very quickly, I'm going to give you, again, 20 seconds just to have a little think. How do you think these animals have adapted and evolved to survive in these very extreme environments? And you can choose one, or you can have a quick discussion about all 3. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. This is what I would like you to do today, Year 6. I would like you to choose one of the following animals to research: a thorny devil, polar bear, Arctic fox, woolly bear caterpillar, muskox, cactus wren, which is a type of bird, fennec fox, or a camel. I would be particularly excited to see you research an animal that you maybe don't know very much about, because I'm sure quite a lot of us know about the adaptations of a camel or a polar bear, but I, for one, do not know very much about the adaptations of a thorny devil. So I would definitely be excited if you were able to do some research on maybe an animal that you haven't really looked at before. I would like you to find out about their habitat. Okay, where do they live? Their diet, what do they eat? Their lifespan, how long do they live for? Have they got a very short lifespan or quite a long lifespan? And then the most important, how they are adapted to their environment. Okay, and I would like you to draw a picture of that animal as well. If you are doing your work on the computer, then obviously you can find a picture on the internet of that animal. And this is just a way that you can set it out. You do not need to set it out like this, but if you would like to, then you can do it with a picture on the top. Along the side, you can see I've got habitat, what it eats, its lifespan, and then a really big box for its adaptations, because I want that to be the main part of your research today. How is that creature adapted to live in this very extreme environment? On your worksheet, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, but on your worksheet, there are some websites to help start you off, but of course you can do your own research if you've got books on any of these animals at home, or you can do your own research on the internet. Right, I'm looking forward to seeing your work uploaded on Seesaw, and I will see you next week. Bye.